For people who love to drive, the renowned engineers of Chrysler Corporation designed the Chrysler 300, America's highest performance automobile. To describe and demonstrate the 300 for 1960, the 300F, here is Bob Roger, Chief Engineer of the Chrysler Imperial Division of Chrysler Corporation.
I'm Bob Roger. I suppose you have all wondered from time to time just how and where an automobile design starts. As an engineer, I can tell you it starts with a question. Just who are the people we are designing this car for? Well, in the case of the 300F, we did have a particular group of people in mind. They are sportsmen. They're the type of people who like the feel of a fine machine, the throb of a powerful engine, like this one, that will take them anywhere they want to go. They like a feeling of oneness with their machine, a feel of the road. They like the ability to be able to snake their way through any traffic, around any turns. And I think if you're one of these people, you will appreciate what we mean when we show you some of the features that make this possible in the Chrysler 300F. From an external appearance, we want to achieve the psychological effect of this image of power and performance, of functionalness. We do this with a single, massive air intake opening, a minimum of ornamentation, and a minimum of chrome moldings. Now for a moment, imagine yourself as driver of this automobile, and notice how this magnificent, unusual interior contributes to the overall theme of a functional, high-performance car. You'll notice a thrill of anticipation of things to come just in the appearance of these 4 individual bucket seats. And as a driver, you'll appreciate the convenience of swivel seats in entering a contoured chair-type seat. Once in place, the driver realizes that these seats aren't just appearance. They aren't just window dressing. You feel the luxury of 4 inches of solid foam and the shape of the seat contouring you and holding you in comfort and safety. Notice down the center of this car, the instrument console provides a mounting for an armrest that adds to the feeling of security, as well as a place for an ash receiver, window controls, and note too the tachometer mechanically attached to the engine that registers engine speed. Our instrument panel is the new Astrodome type with electroluminescent lighting. This provides for increased safety in night driving because there's less glare from the instrument panel. The numbers and decoration of the panel are lights in themselves. You know, to get the feel of this automobile and the thrill, you really have to drive it. Now, speaking of driving, let me make one point perfectly clear. The sportsman who buys this type of car wants a geared-to-the-road feel. This is accomplished in the 300F with a firm suspension. That is, heavy-duty springs and shock absorbers. You won't get a baby buggy ride in the 300F, but you will get one that gives you a feeling of security and a sense of safety in all types of driving conditions. But, of course, the story in the 300 is the engine. Of course, everyone expects unlimited power from a 300. And this machine really has it. You know, as long as I've worked on this 300 engine, I still get a tingle every time we open the hood. And you will too. In here we have 413 cubic inches, fed by a brand new induction system. What you see here are 2 oversized 4-barrel carburetors on opposite sides of this engine compartment, fed through long cast tubes across the engine compartment from the carburetor to the opposite bank is the air-fuel mixture. The theory here is to utilize an open induction system together with the inertia of a pipe full of air and fuel mixture and a sonic wave to crowd the most possible air-fuel mixture into each cylinder. We have an exhaust system with very large manifolding exhaust pipes, mufflers, and tailpipes. The camshaft itself is a race variety camshaft to give maximum output in the higher speed ranges. The engine itself develops, as a result of the ram manifolding, a peak torque that's about 15% higher than a normal engine of this displacement, and it develops it at a speed range where it can be best used for hill climbing and passing purposes. The development of the 300F was a big job. But it's not really a job, it's sort of a hobby with the engineers. We've had a lot of fun building, trying out, testing. And at our proving grounds at Chelsea, Michigan, probably no other cars that we have made have put in more time being tried and changed and tried again. Admittedly, this was something all of us enjoyed. I remember one sort of rainy day in particular when I finally turned over one of the development models to one of our best track drivers, Ralph Lockridge, with the instructions only to let her out. After Ralph had warmed her up on the big oval track, I timed his second go-around. Drivers like Lockridge are specialists, craftsmen. The sound of the tires in this high-bank concrete, the feel of the steering wheel at each speed, tell them more about a car in a few minutes than most of us can discover in a whole day. That's because they relate every new driving experience to hundreds of thousands of other test miles they've driven. And with Ralph Lockridge and every other driver who got his hands on her, the 300F was a love affair. When Lockridge brought her in from the Oval that day, his satisfaction was, if you'll forgive our boasting, tremendous. The handling, that special road clinging that the 300s do in any old situation, the resolute track speed, everything. Much more even than we had predicted. And we had predicted a lot. The same day, we reran a lot of acceleration tests, competitive tests with the 300E. The 1959 model of the 300, here in the foreground. We switched drivers back and forth so that an extra heavy foot on one accelerator wouldn't deceive us. I gave him the count. The lead the 300F takes is the result of ram manifolding. We've got some grades at our proving grounds. Grades that we built into our back 40 with real surgical precision, intended, in fact, to take the spirit out of most cars. Our drivers knew what we wanted, fair, accurate acceleration tests. We put the 300E and the 300F together again in competition. And so, time and again, the count. And time and again, the reward for a year's labor of love. The proving ground is a wonderful place for running controlled tests, as you've seen. We can do things there that you just can't do out on the busy highways. On the other hand, it has its limitations too, because there are driving situations that occur on the highways, different types of roads, and heavy traffic that we cannot duplicate on the proving ground. This experience, of course, is important to the development of any new car. And we get it. From the Chrysler plant in Detroit, the development cars go looking for it. They go out nearly every day, and they log thousands of miles of town and country. all the places people drive. The 300s are city-minded as well as sports-minded. Give them a stoplight, and when it turns green, they'll be away from it and up to lawful speed before anything else on the road, American or foreign-born. Give them an expressway, and their drivers are where they want to be, at speed, up ahead, safely in the lead. Or give them any country or suburban road, rough or smooth, and they're ready. Readier and more capable than any other car. Give them the offbeat stretches, and they give you back the romance of driving. Because the 300F is an engineering hobby. Give them the less certain routes of twilight, when driver and machine probably have more dependence upon one another for everyone's safety. And the 300s and their drivers team up automatically in a confidence of highway motion that isn't equaled anywhere. Or give them the clutter of the small town at holiday time, and you find out what exceptional unity of man and machine has been achieved. Give them dusk to dawn driving as we did this car, and you'll find the driver still alert, because the elaborate convenience of the 300's controls make his job most efficient. There's a new kind of communication between man and machine. Give them the high country, and give them any kind of weather, such as here in the Smoky Mountains. And the 300F's bright new notions of suspension, power, torque, balance and handling, all give back to the driver not merely security, but the certainty, the thrill of being in full command. Or take the favorite justification of horsepower, the need to pass another vehicle safely, quickly, and to get promptly back into lane. No car can match the 300 here. In steep places or flat ones, it is almost never necessary to kick the transmission into a lower range. Get off the beaten path in a 300F. You'll find yourself hoping almost immediately that more paths will stay unbeaten. Handle the 300F as we have, over thousands of miles of the most miserable gravel and ruts, and you're bound to join a fair number of us who are engineers and test drivers in our special enthusiasm for the 300's firm, sure-footed version of torsionary suspension. I think we've made the scenic backroads fun to drive with a car that's yours to steer or navigate. We sent a cameraman along on this particular southern route, looking, of course, for tough and scenic places, and assigned to wind up in Florida at Daytona Beach. The car was a test model. When building a car with the performance characteristics of this one, it's unavoidable that some of these sportsmen will want to enter the car in competitive events. As the Chrysler Corporation, of course, we do not participate in this sort of activity. However, at Daytona, one of our Chrysler Imperial dealers, Brewster Shaw, is a sports car enthusiast. Brewster himself has set a lot of records of various sorts on the famous sands at Daytona, and we agreed to let him give one of the early 300Fs a workout. If we were eager to hear the results, Brewster Shaw was just as eager to do the driving. He didn't give the new 300 more than 10 seconds rest before he took off for the beach. At the famous measured mile, Shaw had scheduled the NASCAR timing authorities for 2 different trials. The first was to be the flying mile. In the flying mile, a car is allowed a couple of miles distance to run up to its maximum speed before crossing the start line, at which the timing of 1 precise mile begins. The results of Brewster Shaw's flying mile runs here in this mecca of performance trials were more than we had anticipated, and more than Shaw had, too. Then he tried the standing mile over the same route, precisely 1 mile from a standing start in the sand. A real test of the capability of a machine to accelerate quickly in the skilled hands of a good manager. And once more, the 300F had proven itself. Perhaps such things are triumphs chiefly in the eyes of sportsmen or sports car enthusiasts, but they're also potent demonstrations of the obedience and responsiveness of a great driving machine. Naturally, no record attempt was made with this particular automobile on the sand. It, of course, was equipped for road cruising and was not tuned for this type of competition. For the real competitor, we do have something in the way of a goodie for the 1960 300. This consists of a special high-output 400 horsepower engine with a special race cam and mechanical valve gear, headers, an oversized dual exhaust system, and what you would like to hear, behind this package is a 4-speed manual shift, full synchronization gearbox. Well, now you've heard the story of the 300F, a story of magnificent power and performance. But to really appreciate it, you have to drive it.